Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. You can view us on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford and Live to Tape, on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion, on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on the Biff Radio Network, 88.1, the Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online in a number of different places on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website, civiccentertv.com, and beginning at 11 o'clock for the Michigan Megacast on My Michigan TV or MyMy, a free streaming service with all Michigan content all the time at mymytv.com, where you can also learn about how you can download both their smartphone and smart TV apps and take My Michigan TV on the road and home with you as well. All that information is on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also learn more about our program and find all of our episodes and each individual interview on demand as well. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19, including the spread of the virus as the pandemic continues onward, masking and other precautionary tactics that you may need to employ in your daily life or may not need to, depending on where you're at and what the case numbers are looking like, and other information on things such as vaccinations and booster shots should you need either or of those vaccinations. Also on a coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we feature articles from journalistic outlets all throughout the Great Lakes state in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across the state of Michigan. Our top story today is from the Detroit News. Oxford high school officials allegedly covered up culpability after the massacre in November, according to a lawsuit. The family of a student killed in the Oxford high school massacre filed a civil lawsuit on Thursday against the school district and several other officials. The father and older sister of Hannah St. Juliana, a 14-year-old who was killed in the shooting, accused the school district of manufacturing a cover story to justify letting the accused killer return to class despite a student exhibiting a quote-unquote disturbing pattern of behavior. This includes an obsession with guns, access to firearms, and being, quote, in the throes of a mental health crisis, end closed quote. The federal lawsuit is the first of its kind by relatives of a slain student and come 5 months after prosecutors say that the alleged shooter killed 4 students and wounded 6 others and a teacher during a November 30th shooting spree at the high school. The claim is that at least a third lawsuit filed against the district since December, including a $100 million case filed on behalf of survivors. The lawsuit Thursday accused school officials, including a counselor, of creating an increasing danger to students by letting the 15-year-old return to class. That includes warnings that he was watching a video of a shooting while at school, searching online about bullets, and writing, quote, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me. Blood everywhere. My life is useless. The world is dead," end closed quote. Instead of detaining the alleged shooter, Dean of Students Nicholas Ejok and school counselor Sean Hopkins let him return to class without searching his backpack, according to the lawsuit filed by Hannah St. Juliana's father, Steve St. Juliana, and sister Raina, a 16-year-old and a junior who survived the shooting. Less than 2 hours later, the alleged shooter took his backpack into a bathroom and emerged with his loaded handgun, family lawyer Michael Pitt wrote. Continuing on, Pitt wrote, "He opened fire, killing 4 students, including 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, and seriously injuring 7 other people, 6 students, 1 teacher." The family is seeking unspecified punitive or exemplary damages against the state's wrongful death statute, plus damages for medical, hospital, funeral, and burial expenses. The lawsuit also seeks damages for physical and emotional pain and suffering as well. The lawsuit also names former Superintendent Timothy Throne and current Superintendent Kenneth Weaver. There was no immediate comment from school officials on Thursday about this lawsuit, but in response to the earlier lawsuits, Oxford school officials have denied, quote, they were negligent in any manner, end closed quote. Their lawyers also have called the allegations false and said that his clients would claim that they are immune from liability. The district has been criticized for releasing the alleged shooter, an Oxford High School sophomore, back into school after he was pulled from class when a teacher saw a disturbing drawing on his desk that depicted a gun, a bullet, and a bleeding shooting victim. The alleged shooter also allegedly told counselors once he was taken to the office that his drawing was part of a video game that he was designing, and that he planned to pursue video gaming design as a career. Throne has said that in a previous statement, former Superintendent Timothy Throne. The alleged shooter remained in the office for about 90 minutes and worked on school assignments while the school tried to reach his parents. After speaking to parents James and Jennifer Crumbly in the school office and again to their son, Oxford school counselors concluded that he did not intend on committing either self-harm or harm to others, according to the former superintendent, who, by the way, spoiler alert, was very wrong. His parents were informed that they had 48 hours to seek counseling for their child or the school would contact Child Protective Services. They were asked to take their son home for the day, but they, quote-unquote, flatly refused and left without their son, Throne said. St. Juliana's family alleges a high-level cover-up by school officials following the shooting. Quote, specifically, the district has sought to avoid accountability by claiming it has a formal policy and practice of returning students to class unless there is a quote-unquote disciplinary issue that can be used either to send them home or hold them in the counseling office. And since the alleged shooter did not present a quote-unquote disciplinary issue, it had no choice but to return him to class, their attorney Pitt had wrote. The district's policy of using false justifications demonstrates egregious deliberate indifference to the danger presented when a student such as the alleged shooter, who the school knew was suicidal and presented a clear and present threat, is returned to the school environment, end close quote. That was, of course, written by the family's lawyer. School officials have denied knowing that the alleged shooter was suicidal, according to the lawsuit. Quote, in truth, the district did know that the 15-year-old was suicidal and possibly homicidal when he was released from the counselor's office, Pitt wrote. The alleged shooter has been charged with multiple felonies, including first-degree murder, and is being held without bond in the Oakland County Jail awaiting trial. His parents are also jailed and face 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter. Also making news today at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from Bridge, Michigan. 2/3 of Michigan drivers still have not received their $400 insurance refund. More than 2/3 of eligible insured Michigan drivers still have not received their $400 refund as of May 9th. The May 9th deadline approaches. Officials confirmed the delays Thursday during a media conference by the Michigan Department of Insurance and Financial Services that announced that $906 million of the $3 billion owed by auto insurers have been returned to drivers. The refunds are part of a 2019 auto insurance reform negotiated between the governor and the Republican-led legislature that were to cut what had been the highest rates in the nation by ending mandatory lifetime coverage for auto crash victims and creating new fee limits for medical treatment. Anita Fox, director of the state insurance office, said auto insurers must refund the $400 through a check or a direct deposit rather than applying it to a customer as credit. Fox says she is confident that insurers will issue the refunds before the deadline. Quote, the refund process is huge, Fox said, continuing on. There are 7.1 million drivers, and the state doesn't keep that information as per vehicle. Your insurance company does. It takes a while to get the process set up and transfer billions of dollars. The process has been less than smooth for many, including Ron McDonough, 62 years old, of Burt. He said he hasn't received his check and was informed by his insurer that the $400 refund would be applied toward his upcoming policy premium, which renews on April 28th, in apparent conflict with the rules. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, the rules being that it has to be a direct deposit or a check sent to the person whose vehicle is insured and cannot be applied as credit to their insurance payments, including their premiums. Quote, I'm low income and I need the money to get a colonoscopy because I have diverticulitis, McDonough said. Quote, I owe the hospital $100 and they won't schedule the operation until I pay it. So I could really use that $400 to take care of my medical needs, end closed quote. Fox urged eligible drivers like McDonough who are encountering problems to contact the state at 833-ASK-DIFS or 833-ASK-DIFS. Michigan has tried to keep the refund process as simple as possible, Fox said, saying, quote, "This is their money that they paid into this fund," Fox said, returning to motorists, quote, "You shouldn't have to fill anything out. You shouldn't have to take it as a credit. It's your money that ought to be returned, and we know that's important, especially coming out of a pandemic," and closed quote. Wouldn't it be nice if these insurers would be as aggressive in returning money to the customers as they are in going after customers' money when they're ever so slightly late on their bills, including those low-income individuals who struggle with that the most? Wouldn't that be nice? But, when the onus is on them to own up and do the right thing and fulfill their commitments, yeah, they find every way they can to avoid it for as long as possible. It's just good business. Fox also warned drivers to beware of potential fraud, such as scammers calling consumers to get private information. Quote, "Every time there is money, there are scammers," Fox said. "We've heard from the Attorney General's office that as soon as the refunds were announced, there were people who were already being contacted by scammers asking for information. It's important that people don't give out any personal information. Anyone who had either a vehicle, a motorcycle, or an RV that was insured by a policy that allows them to operate in Michigan as of October 31st of 2021 is eligible for refunds. Eligible drivers who have not received their refunds should contact their insurers, who may only give the money back either through a check or direct deposit." Again, very important that the rules involved in this legislation is that refund has to be a check or a direct deposit. So if you contact your insurer and they give you any trouble or they try to apply it as a credit, know that they are violating those rules. That is against the law. You have the right to that money in cash through a check or direct deposit, and you should call 833-ASK-DIFS. Consumers may contact DIFS if they don't receive their refunds or cannot reach a resolution with their insurers. There is a link to the contact page for DIFS in this article from Bridge, Michigan, and that is part of what's posted on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines on our coronavirus page from the Detroit Free Press, President Biden has picked a University of Michigan dean, Michael Barr, for the Fed's bank regulation post. This is also from the Associated Press via the Detroit Free Press. President Joe Biden said Friday he plans to nominate Michael Barr, the dean of the University of Michigan's Public Policy School, to be the Federal Reserve's vice chairman of supervision. The selection of Barr comes after Biden's first choice for the Fed post, Sarah Bloom Raskin, withdrew her nomination a month ago in face of opposition from Republicans and one Democrat, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Raskin's critics had argued that she would apply the Fed's regulatory authority to climate change and possibly discourage banks from lending to energy companies. But with Barr, Biden noted that the importance of politics in a Friday statement that his nominee had previously cleared the Senate on a bipartisan basis. Quote, "Michael brings the expertise and experience necessary for the important position at a critical time for our economy and families across the country," Biden said. The Democratic president said that Barr has, quote, "has spent his career protecting consumers and during his time at the Treasury played a critical role in creating both the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the position for which I am nominating him," and closed quote. Barr is the dean of the University of Michigan's Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy. He was an assistant Treasury Secretary for financial institutions during the Obama administration and helped design the 2010 Dodd-Frank regulations after the devastating 2008 financial crisis that led to what is known as the Great Recession. Barr, a Rhodes Scholar who clerked for Justice David Souter on the Supreme Court, also served during the Clinton administration at the White House, the Treasury Department, and the State Department. Despite those credentials, some liberal critics last year blocked Barr's candidacy to become the Biden administration's comptroller of the currency, a position that is responsible for regulating national banks. These critics viewed with suspicion Barr's role on the advisory boards of the financial firms Lending Club and Ripple Labs. They also asserted that he had helped dilute proposals for stricter bank regulations during the Obama administration as well. But Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown, the Democratic chairman of the Banking Committee, voiced full support for Barr, saying, quote, "Michael Barr understands the importance of this role at this critical time in our economic recovery," Brown said, continuing on. "I strongly urge my Republican colleagues to abandon their old playbook of personal attacks and demagoguery and put Americans back in their pocketbooks first, end closed quote. Others offer strong praise for Barr and say he appears well suited for the Fed position. David Dworkin, president of the National Housing Conference, which advocates for affordable housing, suggested that Barr's understanding of Wall Street gives him the right mix of centrist expertise and progressive policy views, end closed quote, to win confirmation in a closely divided Senate. Barr would be joining the Fed at an especially challenging and high-risk period for the central bank and the economy. The Fed is set to raise interest rates aggressively in the coming months in order to try to reduce persistent high inflation. Yet it will be extraordinarily difficult for the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, who is awaiting Senate confirmation for a second term, to slow inflation by raising borrowing costs without also weakening the economy and perhaps causing a recession. Quote, "This is about landing a very complicated plane on the runway smoothly," Dworkin said. Quote, "It's very hard to do," end closed quote. All those headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as those ever helpful links to accurate expert information on COVID-19 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in Lansing, Michigan, and the Oakland County Health Division in Pontiac, Michigan. We have a great program ahead on this Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up, we will head over to Pontiac and talk with the Oakland County Health Division's Chief Medical Officer, Russell Faust, about COVID-19 and other public health matters. And then at 10:40, Bernard Adams from Priority Health will join us as well. That's all up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Joining us now is the Chief Medical Officer at the Oakland County Health Division, Dr. Russell Faust, back with us once again on the Oakland County Megacast. Dr. Faust, thank you for being here.
Good to see you again, Tyler. Thanks for inviting.
Yeah, good to see you as well. So the BA.2 variant of COVID-19, it seems to be becoming more dominant in the U.S. as of past Wednesday. Michigan reported 3,215 new cases of COVID and 70 virus-related deaths on Wednesday. It's an average of about 643 cases over the past 5 days. At this moment in time, definitely less drastic of a COVID-19 situation than the last time we spoke. But where does Michigan and particularly Oakland County stand on the COVID-19 front at this moment in time?
Well, I think overall, we still have some pretty good news. This week, CDC reports that we are at 71 cases per 100,000 of population, which still keeps us in the low transmission category. And I think, that's where we want to remain. We're seeing just a mild up creek versus last week. But overall, we've been, in the downtrend for a couple months now. And overall, I think this is all good news. I mean, I think The thing that gives me great hope is that unlike what had been seen in Europe, say Denmark specifically, when this BA2 Omicron variant arrived there, they went into another huge surge, just an enormous surge. And we haven't been seeing that here. You know, Omicron BA2 has been present here in Oakland County now for nearly 3 months. And the fact is, it's just kind of creeping up in terms of its takeover. It's about 70 to 75% of all the cases right now in Oakland and across state. But the fact is, we're not seeing that surge. And I speculate that the reason is most of us have already had COVID, or we are fully vaccinated for COVID. And so our level of immunity in the community is very high. And I think what we're seeing is whereas people are still transmitting at a low level, people are not really getting that ill. Now, having said that, this is not yet endemic. That is, it's not like influenza, which is just everywhere. You know, COVID is still killing people. People are still dying at about 10 times the rate they do for the other respiratory viruses, including influenza or flu. So this is still a dangerous virus, and we still need to take precautions. You know, a mask when you're out in public. And, you know, I'm hopeful now, I'm very optimistic now that we're headed into warm weather, that we can take a lot of our meetings outdoors. We can open the windows and ventilate our offices when we do have meetings. You know, I think overall, we're in a very good place right now in Michigan, in the country, and especially in Oakland County.
So we previously, the last time we had you on, we were in the middle of a COVID-19 surge with the Omicron variant. At that time, models, statistical models from the medical community were showing an expectation that that surge was going to at some point taper off and then dramatically reduce. That model has seemed to have come to fruition at this moment in time. Where are those statistical models at now for our near future? And I would presume they probably don't go as far as next fall, but I would also imagine that next fall, as the weather starts to get cooler, that would be the next time potentially, if we don't reach an endemic stage by that point, which is not all too far away temporally, that could be the next choke point of this pandemic where surging cases could become a problem. Where do the models show us going with COVID-19 at this point?
I think the good news is that we have been a surprise to the models. You know, most of the models are based on what we see kind of headed this way. You know, we're able to predict, we're able to model things based on what happens, say, in Europe or in Australia or South America or the UK specifically. And we're not seeing that. So I think we are now in a surprise phase, and that the models predicted that when Omicron BA2 hit here, that we would be surging again, and we're just not. So again, I'm cautiously optimistic in that, you know, as we move through the summer months, we'll continue to at least stabilize, plateau, if not continue a downtrend. I am concerned for next fall because human nature is, you know, we see some good signs like this, and everybody thinks, no, we're out of this pandemic. Start to celebrate, not wear a mask, not maintain distance, not wash our hands, not take those usual, you know, mitigating actions. And we may be in trouble again when school comes back in next fall. But I do want to emphasize, you know, we've had little minor blips. You know, we here at Oakland County are one of the many kind of nodes on the network where our laboratory is sampling wastewater in the community. Wastewater is just a euphemism for sewage. And twice a week now, we're sampling at 17 individual sites. And during the time when, you know, after a lot of the schools, colleges had gone on break and then returned, folks had traveled, had let down their guard, not worn masks when they were in crowds. We had little blips in some of those dormitory populations, for example, but we just didn't see that continued. We didn't see the transmission. And again, most of us have either had COVID or been fully vaccinated or both. And I think we're in a very good place right now.
We're joined by Dr.
That was a
Russell.
long ramble. I don't know whether I answered your question, Tyler.
No, you did. We're joined by Dr. Russell Faust, the Chief Medical Officer at the Oakland County Health Division, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. You can learn more information and keep up to date on COVID-19 from the Oakland County Health Division by visiting civiccentertv.com/coronavirus and clicking on our Oakland County link, which will take you directly to their COVID-19 specific webpage where you can learn more information about COVID-19 in Oakland County, as well as vaccinations and booster shots, should you still be in the need of either at this moment in time. So, Dr. Faust, what are some of the other lessons that the medical community has learned from managing this crisis for these past 2 years plus, and how does that help to inform other minor medical crises that may pop up in the years to come, or the next great crisis like a COVID-19 situation that we could have in the future?
Thank you. I love that question, Tyler. We've learned quite a bit. We've learned to be prepared. The last government regime basically had dropped the ball, and many of our warehouses that should be stocked with masks, gowns, gloves, etc., just weren't. And we're well stocked now, nationally. The other thing is, right now, all of the local health departments are pretty well-oiled machines now that they've been doing this for 2 years with regard to testing and vaccinating. The outreach clinics, they're just so good at it now that I think we're well prepared for the next epidemic or pandemic, as long as we maintain our readiness. I think we're certainly in a better position now. And I do want to emphasize that I'm grateful that the CDC at the federal level and state level has established this national network of collaborative labs and water resource commissions and public health teams to monitor wastewater. And already we're beginning to apply that to other viruses and other emerging pathogens that we're just seeing kind of pop up now. We're beginning to apply these methods to keep the public safe. So I think a lot of good has come out of this.
So let's go into more detail on the wastewater testing. How does that testing then inform the next actions that are being taken by a health department, whether it be Oakland County, surrounding areas, or in a partnership between tri-county areas or at a state or regional level?
Sure. Well, the big benefit with regard to SARS-CoV-2 that causes COVID-19, the big benefit is that when we as we become infected, actually excrete in our stool, in our wastewater, we actually excrete viruses or particles of the virus that are detectable through testing in the wastewater prior to actually becoming clinically infected, that is manifesting the infection symptoms, and prior to us shedding virus, respiratory virus droplets. So the beauty there is that when we see that upsurge in virus and wastewater, we know that clinical cases are beginning to develop. And what we've been doing is monitoring wastewater in various congregate living facilities, dormitories, for example, and going in, testing everybody, finding the 2 or 3 people that are infected early and isolating them before they're able to transmit to everybody else and stopping an outbreak. So I think that's the model moving forward. Not all viruses have that kind of life cycle or presentation. But for those that do, the other coronaviruses and many other viruses, that's a good model. And I think the other value is that, as you point out, those collaborative teams, those partnerships moving forward have streamlined this process. And again, we are applying this to other hepatitis viruses, other coronaviruses, rather respiratory viruses, and some of the other emerging pathogens. And be happy to talk about that sometime, but that would take more than we have today.
We're joined by Dr. Russell Faust, the Chief Medical Director over at the Oakland County Health Division, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. You click on the Oakland County link. It'll take you to the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 webpage, so you can learn more information about what they're doing to prevent the spread of COVID-19, to combat COVID-19 cases that are in Oakland County, as well as information on where you can get vaccinated or get your booster shot locally in the Oakland County area. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Right there at the top of the page, CDC, NDHHS, Oakland County is the third to the right at the top of that page. Dr. Faust, as we've seen more variants pop up, it seems like the last couple variants, Omicron and even Delta, have been more highly transmissible, not necessarily producing stronger symptoms or a greater chance of symptoms. That's probably
more severe disease.
More severe disease. Has kind of been the trend. It was what was seen more with Omicron. It's what's been seen with the BA2 subvariant of Omicron. As you and others on the scientific side of things in battling this pandemic are looking at COVID-19 as it continues to vary over time, is that kind of what's being imagined as these future variants are going to continue to be? They're going to be more easily spread, but maybe not be as deadly until we reach a point where we have seasonal uprisings of COVID-19 cases, but they're not at a point where they are at pandemic proportions that are overwhelming hospitals.
I think that's a pretty insightful question, Tyler. So the variants, every active infection is basically a factory of additional mutations. This is a mutating RNA virus. So every active infection produces more variants. The only variants that really survive or catch on and are transmitted are those variants that are more easily transmitted than the existing variant that's kind of spread through the population. So in order for a variant to really take over, you really can only do so by being more easily transmitted. Stickier, stick to the receptors a little bit better. There are many, possible mechanisms to be more transmissible. But yeah, I think moving forward, that's what we can expect. And I think as across our communities, the level of immunity is maintained or increased either through continued vaccination, as we do for influenza, or through natural or native immunity by being previously infected. I think moving forward, what we'll see is more easily transmitted variants, but less severe disease. And in fact, we see that right now. We're seeing transmission in the community at low, we're still in low level transmission, but we still see cases. But the difference is they're not filling our hospitals as they did, a year ago. They're just not filling our hospitals. And when this is the number I check on a daily basis, because this really gives us an insight into how well we're doing in the community, is how many cases are in our hospitals. And it's extremely low. It's very reassuring. But I think you're correct. That's what we can expect.
And so, Dr. Faust, earlier on you mentioned that we're not at the point where COVID-19 is endemic. We are at a very low spread of COVID-19 in comparison to the past. The community spread isn't as severe as it has been, and it continues to trend further toward going down. And then maybe this is a more complicated question than simply at a county level, and I know it is because this is a pandemic, it's worldwide. Where is that point where the scientific community, where the medical community would be able to properly declare something like COVID-19 to be reaching an endemic viral spread?
Yeah, that is a very complicated question, or the answer is very complicated. And I think there's a fair amount of disagreement among the medical and scientific community for what that trigger is, what that threshold is. What do we need to reach in terms of level of transmission? But I think really a lot of it has to do with the lethality of this virus. And so, the World Health Organization is still saying that we're still a way off from COVID-19 being endemic, but really the pandemic is not only the global aspect of this, many countries involved, but also the rapid growth of transmission and infection. We're really kind of coming out of that pandemic phase. And I think if we continue to be plateaued or kind of downtrending as we hit next fall, I think it will be reasonable to consider ourselves out of an emergency or pandemic kind of phase. Perhaps not technically endemic, according to all the medical scientists, but I think that would be a great milestone. I think beyond that, I think we'll have little epidemics of geographic clusters of infections and outbreaks. But I think we can all look forward to that time.
Dr. Faust, before we let you go, anything else at this time that would be important for people in Oakland County to be keeping front of mind on the COVID-19 front or other things medically in the community?
Yeah, two things. And thanks for asking. Really, if you haven't gotten your flu shot, get your flu shot. If you are co-infected with SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, and influenza, your mortality risk goes up more than 6 times being infected by either one alone. You don't want to be infected with both. So get your flu shot. And the second thing is make sure that you're optimally, maximally vaccinated against COVID-19. We're out to a second booster now for eligible populations, but check the website, see where you are, get your second vaccination, get your booster if you qualify, get your second booster if you qualify, and stay healthy.
Dr. Faust, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tyler.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
the leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking
longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's a second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations across Oakland County. Joining us now is Bernard Adams. He is an advisor in strategic marketing with Priority Health. Bernard, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you much, Tyler. How are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you, Bernard?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good to hear. So let's start off by telling us a little bit about your background and how you ended up with Priority Health.
So my background has been in healthcare for over 25 years. I've served in roles where I've done pharmaceutical sales. I've worked with healthcare plans, and I've also worked with agencies where I've done advertising for insurance companies, hospitals, and things of that nature. And that's been a good course of my career.
And so when did you first get involved with Priority Health, and what are some of the ways in which Priority Health is different than other places in the healthcare industry that you've been before?
So I started with Priority Health back in 1996, and at that particular time we were regional. We were in the Grand Rapids area, and then from there, we looked to expand to, as we are now, all over the state of Michigan. And that's one of the roles that I serve, is to introduce, Priority Health to the southeast side of the state. And, whether it's in Wayne County, Oakland County, I will be working in all the counties to introduce our brand. And even though we've been working in the area for a really long time, I'm just going to bring it more in a grassroots standpoint. And you think in terms of like what sets Priority Health apart. Priority Health, like I say, it's not only on this side of the state, but it's on the southeast side. But, we've had, recently we've come together with Beaumont Hospital, and that was as of February 1st of 2022. And so that's creating a new healthcare system between Priority Health and the Beaumont Health System. And that's going to be designed to really, improve healthcare, health equality, enhance consumer experience. We want to improve the care quality, as well as the values and outcomes as part of what sets Priority Health from other plans.
And then can you tell us about Priority Health and its partnership now, Total Healthcare Foundation, and what was the impetus behind Priority Health ultimately getting involved with this organization to provide healthcare to a number of different people in certain populations in Michigan?
So with Priority Health and Total Healthcare, so it began as it's a partnership, So the partnership, you think, between Priority Health and Total Healthcare, so is, once again, it's designed, to improve the well-being, for the people of Detroit. So we want to invest in organizations that are dedicated, to the needs of the community. One of the most recent ones that we've done was with Brilliant Detroit. And as you know, they have approximately 12 homes that's around the city of Detroit. And with that, they help out moms that are pregnant, things of that nature, might help them with breastfeeding or people to read. And so through the Healthcare Foundation, there was a $148,000 grant, that was provided to help Brilliant Detroit. And this is just one of many organizations that we partner with grants to help, really the well-being of people in the city of Detroit.
We're joined by Bernard Adams. He is an advisor in strategic marketing with Priority Health, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. What sort of services in healthcare can be provided to individuals through the Total Healthcare Foundation in partnership with Priority Health?
So there are many different services that can be provided, but to give you some of the, just a couple of them, one of them is called, Centering Pregnancy. And basically what this is a unique group just for prenatal care, but it offers special support and friendship, for pregnant women. These are people that they have people that they can talk to at any time. But there's also a behavioral health hotline that they can call. And with this here, so Priority Health has staff, and it's 24/7. And so this can be reached through telephone, and it's really on the back of member ID cards. So if there are any questions that people have, if there's something that they're going through, this is another resource that's there for the members. But you also think in terms of, we have a virtual care. And so the virtual care is great also because it's the same copay as if you were going to see your doctor. But with this here, you don't have to travel anywhere. You can do it in the comfort of your home, in your living room, and you can still get that same behavioral health care, over the phone that you would do as you go into our office.
We're joined by Bernard Adams, advisor in strategic marketing with Priority Health, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so before the partnership with the Total Healthcare Foundation, where do these individuals that are tapping into this resource and are being helped by this healthcare resource in partnership with Priority Health, where did they go for these services before?
There are different agencies that people were going to. I don't have the specific names of where people were going to, but you think in terms of even with Total Healthcare Foundation, that we have, we do have, a website that people can go into to also apply for a grant and things of that nature, which would be beneficial. But it's the same that they can do with other agencies. But with this here, with the Total Healthcare Foundation, like I say, this is more geared to the well-being for the people of Detroit. So we want to, invest in organizations, that are dedicated to meeting the needs of the community. And just for that, I will give, the information as far as for our healthcare foundation. That way, if someone wants to apply or get more information, they can go to it. So I'm going to give that. The email is thcfoundation@thcmi.com. And I'll repeat that one more time. thcfoundation@thcmi.com.
We're joined by Bernard Adams, advisor in strategic marketing with Priority Health, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Again, the email for more information is thcfoundation@thcmi.com. That's thcfoundation@thcmi.com. How has the COVID-19 pandemic played into factored into the ability for people to receive quality health care, particularly in high-need areas where health care is often or can often be a hard asset to come by?
Yeah, it's come to be, one of those things where people would normally be able to go in and visit their physician, schedule an appointment, and go in. But it's also created the opportunity for healthcare plans to be more creative with their members on still providing that healthcare. So you think in terms of versus someone being able to go see their physician and now not being able to go in as often, it's opened the door for the whole virtual piece for them to be able to still receive that health care. And that's become a much more seamless process where they can still speak with the physician over the phone and they can still do prescriptions or anything that might be needed. So really it's kind of seamless now, even though initially when COVID first came about, it's like, okay, how do we go about doing this? But the virtual has been a very good success for that.
We're joined by Bernard Adams, advisor in strategic marketing with Priority Health, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Again, the email for contacting Priority Health and the Total Healthcare Foundation is thcfoundation@thcmi.com, thcfoundation@thcmi.com. Just how many people, give us a look at the scale of just how many people have been helped by this partnership with the Total Healthcare Foundation to be provided healthcare and other health-related services that they may not have had access to otherwise if this partnership weren't in place.
So if you think with the Total Healthcare Foundation, this was formed in 2020. So between the merger between Total Healthcare Foundation, or Total Healthcare and Priority Health, there have been many recipients. So not only Brilliant Detroit, so there's been the Brightmoor Connection Food Pantry, the March of Dimes, the Sanctum House, St. Vincent de Paul Society, and several others, that have been recipients of this with the foundation. So it's affected many people. And with this here, so it's been over $4 million that's been spent down. And with that, it's one of those things, like I say, when people apply, there's a quarterly meeting that the foundation board come together and they're able to review any grants that come in. And then from there, the decision is made as far as any recipients. And then from there, anything is dispersed. So there could be even additional organizations that could be added to this list, and many have been added.
If your organization is interested in these services and being added, When we'd like to inquire, THC Foundation at thcmi.com is the email, THC Foundation at thcmi.com. We're joined by Bernard Adams, Advisor in Strategic Marketing with Priority Health on the Oakland County Megacast. Bernard, a couple more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that we haven't touched on today, or any other topics related to Priority Health or to Total Healthcare and Total Healthcare Foundation that would be important for our audience to know, or things that we should be keeping a lookout for in the near future?
Yeah, there are many different aspects that come along with Priority Health. So we have individual plans, we have small business plans for small business owners, but we also work well within and do a lot within the Medicaid and Medicare population. And you think back in terms of with, some of the pregnant mothers, another thing that we do have is what's called the Maternal Infant Health Program, or MIHP for short. And so this is free for Priority Health Medicaid members. And so it provides regular in-home visits, by a nurse, a nutritionist, or a community health worker. And also along with this MIHP, some of the services that are included with this, there's free transportation to doctor appointments, WIC, childbirth, parent education classes. Like I said, there's in-home nurse visits, there's help getting prenatal care. And there's also a lot of questions that are answered, anything dealing with pregnancy or caring for your baby, as well as, there's help with any health problems that could affect your pregnancy with this maternal infant health care program, also through Priority Health.
Bernard, thank you so much for joining us.
You are very welcome. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Again, if your organization in anywhere in the state of Michigan would like to inquire about being involved with the Total Healthcare Foundation or any of their services and providing those to those that your organization serves, you can contact them at thcfoundation at thcmi.com. The email is thcfoundation at thcmi.com. We're going to take a break. On the other side of the break, on your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We'll kick off the Michigan Megacast talking travel with Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan. That's up next. This is the Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. Being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. Scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Spring, summer, and fall are some of the most eventful seasons for Michiganders and visitors alike to explore all that the Great Lakes State has to offer. Joining us now to preview a travel season that may be a major boom for Michigan's economy and the Michigan spirit is Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan. Dave, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Tyler. It's good to be with you. And I think you're right. We are ready to travel. I look at all the research, but I also talk to my friends and I know how I feel. I'm ready to travel. And the research we look at really does show a huge pent-up demand for domestic traveler, Americans who want to come and visit Pure Michigan, and for international travel too. Those folks, our friends in Canada, they can't wait to get here. We just need to make it easier for those international folks to cross those borders, and we're trying to get there too. So it's going to be a busy summer. I'm going to say this more than once, so I'll say it right now. Book your rooms now. I just want to tell you, I don't want you to be disappointed. So book your rooms now, and then we'll talk about some other tips down the road too.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. So part of what makes Michigan so unique is the different specialty areas all across the state for festivals, for specific events. And one of the first that's coming up in the spring and summer season is May 7th through 15th in Holland, Michigan, on the west side of the state. It's the Tulip Time Festival. Can you tell those who have never been to Holland for this event about that event and what makes it so special having this event in one of our great cities in western Michigan?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I always think of Blossom Time down in the Benton Harbor, St. Joe area, and Tulip Time in Holland is kind of the beginning of spring for me. Almost always. They just tend to have great weather. I don't know how they do it, but they just get lucky. But this year's festival is going to be slightly different, just like everybody else. We've had to make adjustments for many reasons. And the festival this year is going to not have, I don't think they're going to do that Wednesday Volks Parade. They're going to do the big Volks Parade, the People's Parade, on Saturday the 14th. It's the one I typically am in, and I'm sweeping with my wooden shoes, keep cleaning those streets. So I'm hoping the schedule is going to allow me to be there that day. And even if I'm not invited to be in the parade, I'm going to be on the sidelines, because it's really cool to see so many people dressed up in Dutch regalia, traditional Dutch regalia, representing all assets of, or all various sectors of society, from, you know, people who would be working the fields to the noblemen, so to speak, and women. So that's a really cool thing to see. And then, of course, you have all the other parade elements that everybody's used to seeing and hearing. Lots of bands. And I think we really do need to get out and support these parades and just enjoy hearing them and watching them this year. It's going to be great to have that all back. And of course, this festival, like so many others, they have the big carnival that starts that prior weekend, around the 5th, 6th, 7th, something like that of May. And then we have a whole bunch of other things that people have come to expect and really love, like the Dutch dancing demonstrations. They're all over the place. Seeing those young people, and occasionally not so young, dance with wooden shoes. Occasionally, it's kind of like a baseball game. You have to keep your eyes open. Occasionally, a wooden shoe goes flying, so keep your eyes open. And it's just a blast. Plenty of fun shows as well, including an artist who will appear and sound like Elton John. So it's going to be a great week.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Also on the west side of the state, one of the more renowned gems of the state of Michigan is the Meyer Gardens out in Grand Rapids, and they have a blooming event that's coming up, a butterflies blooming event in Grand Rapids that's coming up too, and their summer concert series is also going to be back this summer as well. For those that have not visited the Meyer Gardens, can you just give them a little bit of insight into what they may experience over there and some of the special events that will be happening back in one of those pillars of Pure Michigan?
Happy to do that. I used to work for Fred Meyer, and I just so loved Fred and the whole family because they're so special, and they've given back so much to that community, and to tell you the truth, to every community where there's a Meyer store, and even more so. Fred was a very humble man. He didn't want to put his name on buildings or such. So you might be surprised that local baseball park in your town or whatever, very likely supported by the Meyer family. And so when you go to Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, what you're going to see is Fred and Lena's passions. Lena was a real lover of gardens, and Fred was a real lover of sculpture, and they blended their passions together for the nation's largest such garden and sculpture park, and it's kind of in the kind of north part of Grand Rapids, just off of I-96 at Beltline. It is an awesome place, and you don't have to really kind of be into either of these things to really enjoy walking through the displays, the gardens, the sculptures, both indoors and outdoors. And of course, they have special events all the time. You mentioned the Fred and Dorothy Fichter Butterflies Are Blooming event that's happening right now, the most popular event they have of the year. I was just there last week. I've been there many times, and for this specific event, there's just something about going into that tropical conservatory. It's about 85 degrees, especially if we get one of those, you know, kind of return to winter days that we tend to have this time of year. It's nice going into that beautiful warm gallery of flora and see all these beautiful plants. And then don't be surprised if a butterfly lands on your shoulder. Because they're all over the place and they're from all over the world. That's a pretty cool thing to see, especially in that environment. So check it out right now. It's very popular though, so make sure to go in advance online to get your tickets. We always say your trip begins at michigan.org. And I always forget the various websites to the various places. So the easiest way to do it, go to michigan.org, do a search for either Butterflies Are Blooming or Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, and then you'll get to their website and book your time when you want to be there and just spend the day really enjoying that. And then while you are in the Grand Rapids area, just like every other festival or event, make sure to take that time also to experience and explore the community. Grand Rapids area is a beautiful town. And like so many bigger cities, it's been pretty hit by COVID. So the more we can support these towns and these events, the faster we're going to recover, get people back to work, get our economy going, and get our lives back as well. So check it out. You're going to love it. The other places to go to in Grand Rapids that are just musts include the Gerald R. Ford Museum, right across the street from the Grand Rapids Public Museum. Check out the fantastic Art Museum. There's so many things to see. You're going to love it.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dave, as the sun comes out, as the weather gets into the 50s, into the 60s, and beyond, that also kicks off golf season here in the state of Michigan, one of the favorite spring and summer and fall pastimes of Michiganders and visitors to the state. Can you tell us about some of the many different golf courses and some that are golf courses and resorts across the state of Michigan that may be hidden gems for those golf enthusiasts?
Absolutely true. We have more than 650 public golf courses in the state. We're the number 1, 2, or 3. I've lost track on numbers of public golf courses, but this is the thing that nobody else can compare with us. We have the best value for great golfing in this state. Value, of course, is that kind of combination and that connection between price and quality. So when you go to one of our golf courses, in any of the state, anywhere, basically, you're going to have a really good deal for what you get. And that's basically because we have so many golf courses, there's a lot of competition. And the other cool thing about that is you don't have to go very far. And there's a golf course, there are many golf courses, that will suit your style and your skill level. I used to golf 3 times a week, got to expect to be pretty good. Now that I golf like 3 or 4 times a year, not so good. But I can always find a place to go. And if you're in the right group, doesn't matter how good you are, it's all about having fun and connecting with people. It's a great way for us to get back together again in a golf course, whether it's for leisure or for a business connection. There's nothing like, after a business meeting, getting together on one of our Michigan golf courses, talking about the day, doing a little business, and getting to know each other. That's how networking works. That's how you make business in the future as well. There's nothing like it at a golf course. So a couple of big places to go to, maybe for a little bit of a drive, even though the kind of southeast Michigan area offers many good golf courses. You might want to consider kind of that Gaylord region, places like Treetops Resort, fantastic. Treetops, when you get there, you know why it's called that, because it's such a hilly area. You are overlooking this beautiful river territory, and then before you get there, you see all these trees. It's amazing. They have an incredible 3 tops course, which is just very, very special, and it's a par 3. and then the rest of the courses, multiple courses there. This is the thing. You go to a place like this, within minutes, you could be on another course, which is just as beautiful. Most people will think of that Traverse City area, multiple courses. I was on the Wolverine course last year myself at Grand Traverse Resort. Spectacular. And I love that it had a lot of room because I tend to spray the ball all over the place. So that was great. There are golf courses that are unique and special in places like Mackinac Island, the Jewel. And then they have a golf course. This has been there for a long time. I'm going to mess up the name, so I won't try. A Native American name. And that is pretty special, too. It's literally on an old War of 1812 battlefield is where that golf course is. So, man, we have them, and they're all over the place. You're going to love it.
More information about golfing in Michigan, as well as other unique vacation spots and interesting activities at michigan.org. We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, on the Michigan Megacast. One of my favorite places to go at two different points of the year and the changes of the seasons, as we change from winter to spring and from summer to fall, is to go to East Lansing, go to the campus of Michigan State University and explore over there, especially in the spring as the flowers are blossoming, particularly over there in the Beal Gardens, but also happening on the campus of Michigan State University currently is their 10th annual MSU Science Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that event that's happening now through April 30th in East Lansing?
Yeah, in fact, I'm trying to find a way to get to that science festival, science fair myself, because I've never been there, but I've heard great things. You know, we all talk about STEM and the importance for us to integrate the value of having a better understanding of science and technology and all that. Well, here's an opportunity for you to bring the kids, bring young people, have them see kind of real life examples of how science is such an important part of our lives, and maybe something for young people to look at as a career down the road. And the best part about it, it's free. So check that out at the MSU campus and be inspired. And when you go to MSU, of course, we tend to think of the MSU campus for obviously great school that it is, great sports teams that they offer. I want to have a shout out for the Wharton Center, the big theater there, the beautiful theater. Not only is it great and they offer great shows, but the entire Lansing area has been intentional about being welcoming to folks on the spectrum. For people with challenges, with sensitivity challenges, with autism and other issues, Lansing has really intentionally tried to make sure that their attractions are built and that they have events that meet the needs of the disabled community, specifically about things with autism. So the Wharton Theater, for instance, when they have a musical, they very often will have one musical out of that series where they bring down the intensity of the lights and the sound and other things that might be challenging for someone with autism. I love that. I love that they're thinking about that. And we're trying to get the rest of the state and the rest of the country, frankly, to think along these lines as well. Because if we're not welcoming to all, we're not welcoming. And so we need to think about the disabled community as well, and all that we can do to make sure that those folks are able to take advantage of everything else that everybody else can as well.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Lastly, on the specific events side coming up, and this is one that I know the king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, is very excited about. Next week, April 19th through 21st, is the Pure Michigan Governors Conference at the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa in Acme, just outside of Traverse City, a city you mentioned earlier on. Can you tell us about this conference, and is it open to the public if people want to experience this event like our producer Larry Nyland will be next week with Steve Leto and others from My Michigan TV?
Yeah, we've closed registration. We had to limit registration. You know, we're still going through COVID protocols, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't have that many more than 400 attendees. This is where we do the business of travel, and this is where travel industry experts from all over the state come together and we share best insights, we network, we have tremendous speakers. We're going to talk about issues like DEI, and it's important to realize when we come together, our industry wants to make sure we're not just, checking a box, that we're learning how to be how to be sensitive to diversity issues, how to be more inclusive, how to celebrate the fact that this state is a very diverse state. Not only celebrate it, but how we encourage people to travel and get to places where people appear to be different just because of the way we look. But in reality, after we do that and we have full immersion in other communities, we understand we're all the same. We all want a better life for our kids and grandkids. That's what travel does. It helps us to understand these things. So we'll have a couple of speakers and a couple of sessions on this very important issue. We'll also talk about international marketing. We're going to hear from Pauline Frommer from Frommer's Guidebooks on things that the travel industry needs to be aware of, including the whole thing about accessibility and diversity and such. And then we'll have some other folks on kind of research and whatever else. And then I get to go into detail about what we're doing with the Travel Michigan campaign, how we're trying to stay ahead of the game, always be trendsetters, and always stay ahead with the message that we realize we're not perfect. We have a lot to learn and a lot to learn together. And with that thought, we're pretty proud of this place, this very diverse place with diverse people and diverse places to experience. And we're going to try to showcase to the travel industry what we're going to do to get people traveling again. And we need to get them back. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a busy couple of days.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dave, before we let you go, you mentioned earlier on you got some helpful tips for Michiganders and visitors hoping to visit Michigan all throughout the next several seasons with all these great events and different sites to see, and Michigan being back open for the warmer seasons of the year. Can you provide us some of that advice? Of course, you mentioned booking those hotel rooms early. What other advice do you have for Michigan travelers this season?
Yeah, thank you for that. Explore this great state. We have so much to offer, and unfortunately, people tend to only go to the waterfront areas. Hey, they're beautiful. We understand that, but remember, we have 11,000 inland lakes in this state as well. So we have a lot to offer in the waterfront, forest area, trails everywhere, as we mentioned, golf courses everywhere. So explore the lesser known places. It's going to be easier to get in there, fewer people, and better rates. So consider that. As in addition to booking early, do a little exploring and consider the cities. You know, we typically in the summertime go to, the beaches and whatever, but our cities offer great experiences too. I'm going to be at the Tigers game next Friday night. I can't wait. And then when I'm there, I'm going to show a friend the DIA, the wonderful museum. We're going to go to the Henry Ford Museum as well. We're going to check out the Woodward Corridor. We're going to kind of go all around the downtown Detroit area. And then we're going to kind of check out the entire region to the degree that we have time. And then, so that's a great example of how you can stretch out your experience wherever you go, just by kind of thinking about these kind of new places maybe you haven't been to or haven't been to for a while. And really, let's do what we can to support those cities. They need us back right now.
Dave, anything else for us or for Michigan travelers and visitors before we let you go today?
Just remember, as we always say, Tim Allen, you'll start to see and hear our ads out there right now. Maybe see some billboards out and such. Your trip begins at Michigan.org. I'm thrilled to tell you, within a couple of days, we'll be launching our new website. It will be the most accessible state travel website in the country. We already are, but we're really proud of this move we're making to make it easier for people who can't see, and they'll be able to still enjoy the website as well. And if you are without sight, you know what I mean with these various reader technologies that we have. So we're thrilled about that. Michigan.org. Check it out now, and then check it out in a week. I think by the next week we'll have it launched.
Again, that is Michigan.org. Thank you, Dave.
Good to talk to you, Tyler.
Lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Adults have a tough time understanding love, and it can often be even tougher of a concept to understand as a child. But having conversations with your kids about love can play a key role in ensuring that they understand healthy relationships and develop strong boundaries. Joining us now is a distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University, as known commonly as the Love Doctor. Dr. Terry Orbick joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Dr. Orbick, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're known as the Love Doctor.
Well, as you said, Tyler, I'm a distinguished professor at Oakland University. I'm a therapist and a relationship coach. I'm also the director of a long-term research project where I've been following the same couples now for over 34 years. And as the love doctor, I'm bringing my science, my research, as well as others' research to the public in accessible ways so that people can implement that great science-based information into their lives.
So how can the science that you are researching, the sociological side of human behavior, the anthropological side of human behavior that plays a key factor in love relationships, how can that help? How does that help you ultimately impact these relationships of the people that you are coaching and of those that you are researching and aiding their relationships over time?
Well, lots of relationship advice out there is based on individuals' personal experience, or as a therapist, let's say clinical experience. But when you use science, you know that it's general information that can really help and benefit your relationships, because we're talking about researchers like myself who have looked at lots of couples, lots of individuals over time, and you know that the information can be generalized to you and your relationships. So it's good science that can help you improve your own relationships as well as the relationships of your children.
We so often hear about the impact that parents' relationships can have on their kids, but don't normally talk about the flip side of that, where a kid's relationship, whether they're a teenager or they're an adult child of their parents, can have an impact on their parents and their familial relationship as well. You recently wrote a book called Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. Briefly, what is that book about, and what motivated you to write about this perspective of relationships?
Well, as parents, Tyler, we want the best for our children. And one of the things that we can give our children is science-based information about how relationships work and what is important to a happy, healthy relationships. Because relationships, healthy relationships, are so important to individuals' health and well-being, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. So when our kids are happy and healthy in their relationships, that's going to benefit us and help us, and we're going to feel better because our kids are happy and healthy. So I wrote this book because as parents, we set the tone for how our kids act in relationships, feel about relationships, and the relationship skills they have to build happy, healthy relationships. I heard from parents all over the United States that they don't know how to start the important conversations with their children, and they don't know what's important to a happy, healthy relationship. So as parents, we have the responsibility not only to model healthy relationships in our own lives, but talk to our kids about relationships in general.
Especially with teenage kids, it can be really uncomfortable, particularly for the kids, but also I would imagine for the parents approaching their kids to have those conversations and check in with them on their romantic relationships. And so what sort of advice do you give to parents to initiate those conversations, to maintain those conversations, and help guide their kids through these romantic relationships that for many of them may be the first time that they're engaging in these kinds of relationships in their lives?
Well, good question. First, I think it is challenging. It is difficult for parents to approach their kids and start talking about relationship. It's not easy. So the first piece of information that I have, or advice that I have, is to know that it is going to be difficult and challenging, and have that expectation. Second, it's important to build trust with your child or children. And when we trust, our kids are going to be more likely to share and to come to us when they're experiencing a heartbreak, when they have issues in a relationship, and that's what we want. So start setting that groundwork with them early. Talk to them, share experiences of your own relationships, talk to them about television shows or books that you're reading, and use the characters in the movie, the sitcoms, the television shows to talk about relationships. And then finally, start the important discussions, and don't judge, Don't lecture, don't tell them what to do, but ask questions so that they can have the epiphany, so that they can understand or have answers. Don't tell them what to feel, but lead them down a path so that you get the answers that you want. And that's a really interesting situation, Tyler. We don't want to lecture, but we want to ask questions so our kids then come up with the answers.
We're joined by the Love Doctor, Dr. Terry Orbick, a distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University and the author of Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. And Dr. Orbick, throughout the book, you mention multiple times good relationships with for your children start with you. What do you mean by that, and just how great of an impact can a parent's influence on their kids have on their kids' relationships, the longevity of the relationships, and certainly the quality and the health of that relationship?
Well, we as parents have a huge impact. We set the tone, we give them the relationship skills, information, and they're watching us. So they're watching all of our relationships first. So the relationship that we have with the barista at the coffee shop, with our partner, our love partner or spouse, their parent, with our other family members, and with our friends at large. So how we act in those relationships when our kids are watching will be important and will contribute to what behaviors and feelings and actions they do in their own relationships. So we have a responsibility, and the stakes are high, Tyler, because happy, healthy relationships, as I said, impact and contribute the number one influence on our children's health and well-being. So it's important to start now. It's never too early. So even if your child is in elementary school or middle school, start watching, start observing, start talking to them, and start implementing and modeling healthy behaviors in your own relationships.
We're joined by Dr. Terry Orbick, distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University and otherwise known as the Love Doctor. In relationships, such a key factor to the health and the longevity of a relationship is quality levels of trust between all individuals involved and everybody that is involved on the outskirts of that relationship as well and associated with that relationship. How do you suggest that parents talk to their kids about trust, developing that trust, trusting in their romantic partner, and developing that over time?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you said, Tyler, trust is the number one important ingredient in any healthy relationship. If you don't have trust, you can't have love and commitment, and you can't even feel comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings with another person. Trust is when you feel like this person has your best interests at heart and you want to share your deepest, darkest secrets, or you just want to share information with that person. So as a parent, you want to start discussions about trust. At an early age, you can just talk to your child about, why would you want to share a secret with a friend? What would have to be there in a relationship for you to feel comfortable to share something? And then when they get older, talk about commitment. Talk about how you can be a trusting partner or friend or family member and what that involves and what you can say and the kinds of questions that you can ask. And then third, model that as a parent with your child. So make sure that you're allowing them to share. Make sure that you're not judging or giving your values to them about something that they're disclosing to you that's a secret, that is at the core of who they are and their experiences. And then, again, talk to them about how special they are and how unique they are. What we find research shows is that if you can affirm your child, share a special, unique strength that they have, and talk to them about the positive qualities that they have, they're going to feel better about themselves, and then they're much more likely to trust you as the parent and trust others in their relationships.
We're joined by Dr. Terry Orbick, Distinguished Professor of Sociology at Oakland University, otherwise known as the Love Doctor, and the author of Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. As you explore these relationships between parents and their kids who are experiencing, maybe for the first time in their lives, a romantic relationship, or have had maybe some issues with their romantic relationships in the past, what are some of the more common challenges that you see parents are experiencing in relation to their kids' relationships? And what's your advice for parents to navigate those situations in a way that is healthy for their relationship with their kid, but also isn't at a detriment to their kid's relationship?
Well, there are lots of love challenges, I think, that parents experience with their young adult children. One, for example, is when, as a parent, you don't feel that your child picked the right love partner for them. What we know is that conversation, that discussion that you have with your child is so important, because if you judge, if you tell them what to do, if you say you shouldn't be with this love partner, then you distance them from you. And actually, then your child draws closer and is more likely to be attracted and want that love partner. So the stakes are high, as I said. So come to your child and again, ask them questions like, what do you think are the healthy relationship skills and factors in a happy, healthy relationship? And then, what do you think this partner is giving you? What are the strengths? What are the good qualities of this current love partner? Let them discover that perhaps this love partner isn't giving them what they need and want in a relationship, and continue the discussions. It's going to be not one discussion, but many conversations over time. Another example of a love challenge is when your child comes home with a love partner. Where do the two people sleep? And do they sleep in the same room, or do they sleep in separate rooms when they're underneath your roof and your values? And again, have a discussion with your child ahead of time. Talk to them about what they're expecting, what your values are. And if your values are different, or if your opinions are different, talk about compromise. Talk about doing it one way and then doing it perhaps another way over time. Or are there some compromise or alternatives that you can have when your children come home and stay with their love partner in your home? The book shares lots of examples where parents can approach these love challenges in positive, simple, science-based ways.
We're joined by Dr. Terry Orbick, Distinguished Professor of Sociology at Oakland University, joining us on the Michigan Megacast, also the author of Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. Some of the more controversial, or not controversial, some of the more difficult challenges, I think, for parents today to be dealing with that's different from past generations is their child's identity, particularly their sexual preferences, their gender identity, and that's come under fire a lot recently, particularly in the state of Florida with the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. What are your thoughts on that bill? And then what are your thoughts on conversations that parents are going to be having with their children, especially in today's day and age, about their gender identity and about their sexuality that are different from past generations, and how parents should navigate that?
Well, I think it's important, Tyler, to have discussions where you talk about these topics, gender identity, sexual orientation, with your children. And what you want to decide is, what is the age of my child and what is the maturity and emotional level of my child? And based on that, you want to implement these topics into discussions. And one of the best ways of doing that is using the media as a guide. Have you and your child sit down and watch a movie where perhaps someone in the television show or movie is having a challenge about gender identity, or has a different sexual orientation, or is talking about sexual orientation with their parent, and use that as a basis. Ask your child, well, what do you think the parent should have said? Or what do you think the child should have done? Or how should the child have approached the parent? So after you've had these discussions using the media, using the mass media that your child is watching, and making sure that you're having an appropriate age-related, maturity-related discussion, then bring it home and bring it to them and ask them questions about them, their friends, and what's happening at school and in their peer groups. So remember that talking about it, accepting your child, is so very important for their health and well-being, as well as their lifelong relationships in the future.
Dr. Orbick, before we let you go, where can viewers find your books, such as Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships, A Guide for Parents, and find more information, maybe even get in contact with you if they would like some advice on their love relationships?
Well, I have 3 self-help books, Tyler, that are all based on science. One for long-term relationships and how to improve those relationships. One for finding love. And then, as you said, Secrets to Surviving Your Love Relationships. They're all available on Amazon. People can get a hold of me at my website, which is drterrythelovedoctor.com. That's all one word, DRTERRI. thelovedoctor.com, as well as you said, I'm a distinguished professor at Oakland University, oakland.edu.
Dr. Orbick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
To Sofia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more about our program by visiting civiccentertv.com and clicking on a Megacast link, or just going directly to civiccentertv.com. facebook.com/megacast. On that page, we have a number of different resources that will help you stay up to date with everything that we're doing here on the Megacast on our live programs Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, also live to tape in the afternoons beginning at 1 o'clock on Orion Neighborhood Television, as well as regular replays on Civic Center TV, on WBTV, the West Bloomfield School District's channel, and other channels all throughout Oakland County that air, and all throughout the state of Michigan that air us each and every day. You can find our segments as well, broadcast pretty regularly on My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My, as well. All of our partnering TV and radio, as well as web outlets, we have links directly to their websites at civiccentertv.com/megacast. So you can learn more about what they do in the other 22 hours of the day, Monday through Friday, that they're not with us. Some of those hours, they do join us again for a replay. And we'll play some of our segments again if it's pertinent to their community, if it's pertinent to Southfield at City Cable 15 or Bama in the Birmingham, Bloomfield area, or Media Network of Waterford, in between their different regular programs and even in between programs on Orion Neighborhood Television. We just had Keith Aldrich from Canterbury Village out there in Orion Township on to talk about some of their upcoming events and programs. I'm sure ONTV will be having that circulating here and there. So people out there where living is a vacation will join us regularly and come back and view our programs. You can learn more about what they're doing outside of the Megacast, keep up to date with them, support your local community television station if you're in one of these areas by going to our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Click on any of those links, and it'll take you directly to their web pages, so you don't have to search through and try to find it yourself. We have all those resources right there. Also, we have a section where you can view our full Megacast episodes and our full interviews with each and every person that joins us every day on the show at any point that you'd like. So we know it's tough. It's 10 a.m. 10 a.m. to 12 noon. It's right in the thick of your work day, unless you're traveling at this point for the holiday this weekend and you're taking us on the road with you. Thank you if you are doing that, and we appreciate you having us be your Easter weekend listening on the Megacast. But otherwise, you can view us and listen to us on demand by going to civiccentertv.com/megacast. We also have an ability at the bottom of the page, fill out a form, and if you or someone you know, maybe an interesting guest, may have something to talk to us about for 10 to 20 minutes, we'd love to hear from you. Fill out your name, your email, the subject line, a little bit of information, and one of our producers may get in contact with you to book you on this program or one of our other programs, either in Greater West Bloomfield or statewide on My Michigan TV, on Civic Center TV, or we'll get you in contact with one of our partnering stations if it's more pertinent to their community. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Then we have another page. /Megacast. We have another page. I gave it away. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Where we have resources on COVID-19 directly from the CDC, the MDHHS at the state level, and the Oakland County Health Division at the local level down in Oakland County, where we originate our broadcast. So you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19, whether it be the spread of the virus, precautionary tactics that may be necessary in your community versus another community. We broadcast in Oakland County for an hour, 10 to 11 o'clock each day. What's happening in Oakland County is going to be very different than what might be happening in Ottawa County, or what might be happening in Macomb County, or what might be happening in Antrim County. So keep up to date with your local health department through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, through the CDC for more of a broad scope across the U.S. and around the world on where the scientific community is at with COVID-19. And also, we have links to articles that are making headlines all across the state of Michigan each and every day, so you can stay up to date on other news outside of everything that has to do with COVID-19 all across the Great Lakes state every single day from trusted resources and journalists all throughout the state of Michigan. And while you're there, while you click through those articles, these are not originally written by us. We are bringing these articles in from different news outlets. We are linking to those articles. We are, of course, attributing this information to those different outlets. And if you click on either the link of the headline itself or the picture we have, the thumbnail picture we have to the left margin of that picture, of that article, it'll take you directly to this publication's website, where you can then read this article, supporting materials, read their other articles, and while you're there, we highly encourage you to subscribe to these publications. These are frontline journalists that are there getting the thick of the information. They're doing the digging, they're doing the interviewing, they're doing the traveling across your local area, across the state of Michigan, to keep you and others up to date on stories that matter in the state of Michigan. This is true journalism. This is where you want to go for your news, locally, statewide, and even nationwide, before you go to a 24-hour news network. You go to them for this information. They give you it in full. We, over here at the Megacast, often will scour these news articles, invite some people that they've spoken to, or invite these journalists themselves to join us on the program here so that we can take a more extensive look. Look, they only have a certain number of words, a certain number of columns that they're able to produce at a given time. We have 10 to 20 minutes, really an open book here at the Megacast to do whatever we need to do to talk about these topics at an extensive length. So that's where we come in. We can give you more information by bringing in experts, by bringing in people who were there, who did see it, who did experience whatever may be happening, who know better than we do. We're not here to tell you what happened. We're here to discuss what happened or what is happening with people that know better and ask the questions that you may have about these different topics, whether it be COVID-19 or something going on in your local community or statewide issues across the board, environmental issues, political issues, certainly, education issues, whatever the case may be. We know we're not the experts. We're not trying to be the experts. We're trying to bring in people that are experts so that they can tell you what you need to know and give you updated information, give you all the information you need to know so that you can have an informed opinion on different things happening in the state of Michigan, and so that you have the context you need to make proper decisions on whatever's going on, whether it be a public health matter, whether it be a political candidate or a political issue. This is information you need to know. We're not here to tell you what that information means. We're here to give you that information so that you can make an informed decision that isn't based on entertainment value and ratings and advertising dollars like you're getting from the 24-hour news networks. If you want your news, you start in 3 places. You start from your local newspapers and publications. You then go to your local news station. They do, a couple news broadcasts in the morning, maybe a midday news broadcast, 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock news, and the 11 o'clock news. They're not there all the time. They're not there for entertainment. They're there to inform you. That's where you go. And then for more information, you come to us here at the Megacast, the Oakland County Megacast for those of you in Oakland County, and the Michigan Megacast for an across-the-board look at what's going on in the state of Michigan. That's what you should be doing to get your news. That's how you avoid most, not all, most of the misinformation, most of the malinformation, most of the disinformation is by going to these resources that are playing by the ethics of journalism. That's where you want to go. And we have those resources for you by going to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Those articles, very extensive, very informative. We take a snippet of some of them and others that are, depending on the length of those articles, in full. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Again, on our Megacast page, you can learn more information about all of our different resources all across Oakland County, different television, radio, and web outlets that join us each and every day for either the Michigan Megacast, the Oakland County Megacast, or the full 2-hour Megacast, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. That is going to do it for this week's editions of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. I'd like to thank everyone that did join us on today's edition of the Megacast. Dr. Russell Faust from the Oakland County Health Division, Bernard Adams, advisor in strategic marketing at Priority Health, Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan, and then Dr. Terry Orbick, the Love Doctor, who's also a professor of sociology, a distinguished professor of sociology at Oakland University. Again, you can view all of these interviews and our full episode from today's edition of the Megacast, all of this week's editions of the Megacast, and all of our programs heading all the way back to March of 2020 at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. In addition, we have links to each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and other web outlets, and a contact form in case you or someone you know may be interested in being on the program to talk about a special project, a news story, or any other topic. We'd love to hear from you at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Highly encourage you also to go to our coronavirus page, stay up to date on COVID-19 from the federal level with the CDC, the state level at the MDHHS, and locally in Oakland County at the Oakland County Health Division, as well as many municipalities in Oakland County. We have direct links to their COVID-19 web pages as well, and those ever important articles. They're making headlines each and every day. We populate that page with new articles every Monday through Friday before we do our program here. Big thank you to our crew as well that make this program possible. Calvin Brown, our technical director, with me here each and every day for our full 2-hour marathon that is the Oakland County and Michigan Megacast. Megacast's Jared Clark out of the office of My Michigan TV in Troy, making sure that all the guests that do connect are able to get with us in short order. And Larry Nyland, our producer, the king of television, booking all of our guests, and Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control, helping us on and off the air. On My Steve Lato Live is next, followed by Larry and Maddie Live. We'll return Monday at 10 a.m.